Nearly 2/3 of Americans are lonely, feeling left out, poorly understood, or lacking companionship. Men were found to be more lonely than women.
It's Saturday at 6 p.m. and I'm sitting alone in my apartment at my desk staring at my computer. Like 99.999% of every other Saturday. I just feel so lonely. I'm just so lonely all the time.
I'm 37 years old now. I don't have any friends at all to speak of, not one single friend. And I used to have friends. You know, when I was younger, I used to have friends. And throughout the years, throughout all my traveling and all this stuff, I've met people, and people have just came and went. And the good friends that I had here back at home, they just all disappeared, got their own families, and they all have children and wives and all this. And I find myself just back home in the house that I grew up in. I've been in this house since I was a little baby, basically.
I'm 25 years old with no friends, no social life, no job.
So I am 21 years old. I have no friends, and I have social anxiety disorder.
I am 25 and have no friends.
I'm a life coach. I've helped hundreds of people with connection, and here I am, struggling with connection. This incident made me realize that connection is a complex issue, and it is not easy. And for someone who thought she had it all figured out, I had so much more to learn. So I became passionate about this exploration because I also know there is so much at stake around human connection. Since 1999, the suicide rate is up 33%. Teen suicide is up 70%. 70. Loneliness is a greater detriment to our health than smoking, obesity, and high blood pressure. Depression is one of the leading causes of disability worldwide. In 1985, 1 in 10 people said they had no one intimate to talk to. And now it is 1 in 4.
All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. This is a quote from Blaise Pascal, a French philosopher. This quote sums up everything wrong with the culture today. Only when you're capable of spending tons of time alone and considering life while being unbothered by the burden of temptation, then can you realize the power that you have. And that kind of power is enough to change the world. Since the dawn of humanity, humans have survived by creating communities and relationships with other human beings, because living alone would mean certain death.
Since 1999, the suicide rate is up 33%. Teen suicide is up 70%. 70. Loneliness is a greater detriment to our health than smoking, obesity, and high blood pressure.
Since life is about making connections and having relationships, it truly is a skill to spend time alone and stay productive. So when you're incapable of doing this, we tend to find vices and create relationships through proxies. No need to go out. You have Instagram. No need to make friends. They're all on Facebook. No need to approach that girl or guy you like. You have Tinder.
So Insider was given access to a survey conducted by Harvard, which found that over 1/3 of Americans aged 18 to 25 felt lonely frequently.
And this loneliness epidemic goes hand in hand with cultural degradation, where negative vices causes us to be lonely. And ironically enough, being lonely is what pushes us closer to these said negative vices because they give us an escape. Your 20s and 30s are supposed to be some of the most social times of your lives, and yet it is being robbed. So it's no wonder why young men are opting to sexting AI chatbots, why women are addicted to surgeries and attention, why the youth is experiencing depression at alarming rates, and why 60% of adults in the US are claiming to feel lonely. And these are things that should be addressed, especially considering that they can have a negative effect on people's health. Loneliness only acts as a fertilizer for other diseases.
We're used to thinking about smoking and obesity as clear public health concerns.
So you're saying loneliness is comparable to smoking in terms of the detriment to your health?
Yeah, in terms of the risk that it poses for premature death, yes.
Half of U.S. adults experience measurable loneliness, and it's greater among young adults.
When you struggle with loneliness, when you're socially disconnected, it increases your risk of depression and anxiety and suicide, but it also increases your risk of physical illness as well.
With all these things, I understand how people are finding themselves more and more victims to hedonism. They are symptoms of an isolated age we live in. People appear to no longer believe in the system. This is a result of a failing society, and it becomes more evident when you watch how people are looking towards other avenues of instant gratification.
Under the headline, AI girlfriends are ruining an entire generation of men, she wrote the following: apps have created virtual girlfriends that talk to you, love you, allow you to live out your erotic fantasies, and learn through data exactly what you like and what you don't like, creating the perfect relationship. And that young lonely men, quote, are choosing AI girlfriends over real women, meaning they don't have relationships with real women, don't marry them, and then don't have and raise babies with them. As I've discussed here before, we're living in an epidemic of loneliness among young men. Professor Scott Galloway told me that failing young men he perceives to be an existential crisis for the country. Why? Well, Pew found that 63% of young men under 30 are single, compared with only 34% of women the same age. 1 in 5 American men who are unmarried and not in a romantic relationship report not having any close friends. And according to Pew, there's a decline in the number of single men actively seeking relationships or even casual dates, currently around 50%.
Most young people are spending less time with people and more time alone. This is due to social media, which ironically is supposed to bring people together. We used to have strong communities and cultural identity, so we knew where we belonged. We had institutions like churches, community centers, better schools, and after-school programs. And we even had relationships with the people living in our neighborhood. Now, without these and our dependency on the aforementioned institutions, people are losing themselves.
Okay, so the third place is a theory that explains why people are lonely, but also the third place is a term that sociologist Ray Oldenburg coined in the 1980s. It essentially refers to a physical location other than work or home where there's little to no financial barrier to entry and where conversation is primary activity.
My bad, I do know that. Yes, I read that in the context of Starbucks. People used to go hang out there. I don't know if they still do, but yes, third place.
So the loss of third places was exacerbated by the coronavirus pandemic, obviously with all the shutdowns. But the problem has been festering for a long time now. Like back in the day, local communities had certain like clubs.
And this leads me to my final point. Financial burdens, gender wars, and degeneracy can lead people down a path of loneliness. The scary thing about this is loneliness is what's going to lead to more financial burdens, gender wars, and degeneracy. Being financially unstable can lead you to overwork yourselves and not have funds to experience other people. Not being properly equipped to deal with opposite sex can have you resent them, and spending too much time alone will lead you towards hedonism and joining crowds that make you feel good just so you can feel like you're a part of something. Get into debt, hustle, overindulge in hedonistic lifestyle with your spare income, and spend your time alone. Everything comes full circle and the cycle continues. This is now our culture. We are victims and yet we are culprits because we voted for the system with our time, money, energy, and attention.